Welcome to the fourth and final part of our ePortfolio introduction or introduction series. And in this particular video, we're going to walk back into our Wix account and begin drafting our home page. So in order to prepare for this, you're going to want to have anything that you might need to take notes, but also make sure that you have your Wix account information. That's your username and password that you registered for during video number 3. And our guiding question is simply, what should we consider when drafting the home page? And then how do we submit the published link of our home page when we are ready? Please understand, this is a draft. And I know we are on video 4, but back in video 1, there was a table that I listed that had different check-in points that we're going to use. And you notice that each of those check-in points were those lower stakes assignments, those learning activities. You're going to draft and revise this throughout the remainder of our semester. So please understand that when you submit this, it is merely a draft. The point of it is that I can see that you have a Wix account and that you have something on your homepage. You don't need to be finished with it. I just want to see that you are moving in the direction or getting comfortable with Wix. Just as a quick reminder, because the only thing you're going to draft for this particular part of the portfolio is the home page. You will not be doing anything with regards to the artifacts at this point. So we're only focused on the home page. And if you remember from our last video or from video number 2, we looked at the fact that the home page is that significant landing page for new and returning visitors. So it provides your audience with that introductory information. But we want to take it a little bit further than that and understand that your ePortfolio is building your digital identity. This is the showcase of who you are. So our homepage wants to be designed in a way that, one, has the necessary information, but then is designed in a way to engage the audience in their first interaction with you as the composer, the developer, the subject, in a way that invites them to move further into your ePortfolio. And just as a reference, remember the conversation we had with Fred Homan's portfolio and how he used his design elements to provide that brief introductory information, but then lots of choices to move into different things if they wanted to. He did not give paragraphs and paragraphs of biographical information on the homepage because he knows, and now we know, that that's not the way an audience expects to interact with a homepage of a website. So we want to consider what elements that you would like to include on the home page. And if you remember from my very first video, I said that this project is very much a map, a mirror, and a muse. So I want you to feel free to let your creativity flow on this. Just because we looked at that one ePortfolio does not mean that that is the way that your ePortfolio should look or function or anything else. It is merely just a way to give you ideas. You may choose to design your ePortfolio for a less formal audience. Perhaps your audience is include your peers. While you're still building identity, it's a much more casual environment, so your choice of images and perhaps design is going to reflect that less formal atmosphere. If you are choosing to develop your ePortfolio with a professional audience in mind, for example, if you are interested in perhaps going into, let's say, the nursing field or engineering or graphic design, then you're going to want to use that audience in order to compose your portfolio. The audience is completely up to you. The artifacts, I realize I'm telling you which ones to put in there, you'll design them, but we'll get to that a little bit later. So if you remember our homepage for this particular example, we kind of listed out that he decided to put these different elements in his homepage, his name, different elements about him, and we see that he decided to focus on his student, his identity as a student, the research interest he has, quick little blurb on different places he's worked, and then of course his contact information. He provides links to different things. If we don't really understand or know what the College of Computing does, we can certainly link to the page and read more about it. He leaves us his contact information. That's completely up to you. What contact information you would want in your portfolio, if any. You don't have to put any. He uses images. He has chosen to put his image on his portfolio. You may choose to use other images. Maybe you don't want your face on your portfolio. Maybe you would rather design it around other images, perhaps that you've taken, and let everything kind of speak for itself without your audience seeing your face. That's a complete personal choice. He also included ways to navigate to his other artifacts. And finally, he gave his audience choices. We've talked about this a lot, but he links his resume where it says, "Here's my CV." He doesn't just start listing absolutely everything that he thinks his audience should interact with. He's giving them choices and then just designing around that. So we want to keep those things in mind as you begin to put yours together. So I want us to move back over to Wix. This page should look familiar from the third video, only this time you already have an account, so you're going to click sign in, and then you're going to go ahead and log in however you chose to log in. It should bring you to your kind of dashboard per se, and it's called My Sites. And what you should see is probably just one, but it's the website that you started to play with in our tour during the third video. So we're ready to kind of think about building some of those elements. And just as a point of reference, as you see, I've got several that I play with, a couple that I had built out for different reasons. And then you see that I've changed my design 20,000 times with these. So I'm going to pull those up just a little bit in a minute, but let's go ahead and edit. Click on Edit Site. And what I really want to do now is just to kind of show you a few things to get you started, but then encourage you to really spend some time just playing with Wix, okay? Many times I will actually draft a page of my ePortfolio on a piece of paper first, meaning I'm going to kind of put elements where I think they need to go and get a visual before I design it. Other times I will just come to the digital space here and just begin to add things. I know that I want to add certain things, so I might go ahead and just get them on there and then play with them as I will. So let me get you started just a little bit. If you notice, you have an add button here. And for the most part, we all know that our name has to go on this page somewhere. So I'm going to add some text, okay? When I click on that, you see that I have so many choices of things to add, right? Whenever you're ready to add something, you're going to click on add, the plus or the add button, and decide what it is. So I'm going to start with my name, and I'm going to go text. And let's see, it's going to be a heading. So I'm going to click and drag that over here. But I also know that I like to have my heading or my name in the header part because I want my audience to see that with every page. I'm also one of those weird people that likes to have my stuff centered. So I'm going to stretch out my text box so it reaches my margins. You don't have to do that. You can just play. But now I need to edit this text. So I'm going to click Edit. And I notice that there are several things I can do here. Okay, first and foremost, I can align this because it's at the head and that's the way I want it. I can choose a font. Um, Choosing a font is important. It is another moment of communication. It can be the difference between communicating with something on a less formal sense, such as, let's say, Chelsea Market is a less formal font or typography. You can see that it looks almost just whimsical, versus if you were to go to something like Times New Roman, which is a more classic formal type of typography. So you can see you have lots and lots of choices, and they all say something. They communicate in those modes we were talking about. So I'm going to use that, and I'm going to say, I might want to create a less formal introduction about myself by um, adding a greeting there. I might also take it off because it's my header, and I don't know if I want hello, I'm Trisha Rizza at the top of each of my pages. So I might take that off. And then I'm going to consider kind of making it a little bit smaller maybe. And part of that reason is I know that I'm also going to add my navigation, because your audience has to be able to get from one page to the other. And remember, in the last video, we added just this skeleton, right? We're only focused on the home page, but we added those. But I know that I need to add a navigation so that my audience can get from one page to the other. So I'm going to come back over to Add, and I'm going to click on Menu. Now, I've got lots of choices here. I could do a horizontal menu. I can do a vertical menu. Let me grab this one real quick. Okay, so I know that I want it to go up here because it needs to follow my audience wherever they go so they can get back and forth between my home page and my artifacts. This looks a little wonky to me. I'm not quite sure if it's the way that the internet is making it look, but not, I would probably play with my name a little bit more. I tend to be a little bit picky about where things are going. What you do notice is that you've got a menu there and the artifacts are already loaded, and that's because you added those pages, okay? But now, if I click save, which I always do, even though it says auto save, please just save. I have spent hours on a portfolio only to have to go back and redo it again. It may happen. If it does, yes, you have to go back and redo it. But that's just any type of digital. But if I hit preview, I can see exactly what my audience is going to see. Okay, and I see I have my menu, and I can see that I have a menu where they can go back and forth. Again, they're all blank, so it's hard to tell. But the way this navigation menu works is that the darker, rectangle is the page that you're on. So I can go back. I'm going to go back to editor. All right. So we had a conversation in the last video that these margins are there for a reason, that many times that your audience may not be able to see what's on the outside of these margins. This, of course, is your footer, but you can make this as long as you want, okay? If you want to change your background, you can, of course, do that with these different backgrounds. You can also add your own images. If you want to upload media, you can absolutely do that. And that's just bringing your pictures into your Wix account. I highly recommend that. The more you can use your own images, the better. If you do go and Google image, you will need to uh, keep the links that you use because we'll need to cite those. But remember, it's your ePortfolio, so a lot of times it's just much better if you use your own images in the text. That's not to say that you won't have moments where you'll need to use a Google image, and that'll be completely fine. We will talk about how you cite those. Let me walk over to one of my other websites real quick just to show you a couple of examples. And please excuse the busyness of this. The purpose for the ePortfolio is very specific So it is much busier than I would probably ever do um, a professional or the professional one that I would send out. You'll notice that the elements that I choose to use, all of the images in the background are actually my personal images from different travels. Um, You'll notice that I have my name. I've chosen to put 3 identities on the home page in order to provide a little bit of glimpse in for my audience. I also give some directions. Just say, please keep scrolling. And that's just to say this is not all that my ePortfolio has to offer. So if my audience scrolls down, they can see that I have a little section here called About Me. Again, these backgrounds are extremely busy. I would not choose to use this at this point. This was for a specific reason. You'll notice that I highlighted or just decided to give my audience, say, 3 snippets or 3 identities: a growing parent, passionate educator, unrealistically idealistic, with a quick little quote underneath that would just speak to that particular identity. That's just my way of kind of getting to know the audience. The next thing you'll see, and you can scroll up for this as well, is you can go to my different pages and teach online. My teaching philosophy is one that you see that I have built in, as well as instructional materials. And this will be similar. These are my artifacts. So this will be similar in the way that you will begin to design your artifacts, but again, we're not there yet, right? So my homepage, as you can see, the elements that I've chosen to put on there, I do have my social media for a specific reason, my Creative Commons license, and that's just to protect or allow some copyright to take place. Another idea, if you just looking for different resources, this is yet another example or something that I have been working on in the past and continue to work on, is that this is yet another home page. This one looks a lot different than the other one. Still has some images, but it's definitely using a lot less color, black and white, maybe with a little red there. Again, I do have some contact information, but I also have a quick little introduction and then leading them to some different pieces and parts that I'm still building out. So the way you can see that there's multiple ways that you can design your site. I'll show you one last one. This was something for a class that we were building. So very informal, just a way to house some of the things that I had done in specific courses. But you can click and see that, again, the backgrounds, those are all my images and videos, but they lead you to different artifacts that I had built. So homepage, this particular homepage, very cut and dry. Put a couple of quotes in there. My name, again, this is very informal, not much there. I have a little bit of a contact information and some amount of social media, but you do not have to include any of that. That's completely up to you. So one thing that I want you to consider or to look at is when you are ready to submit. Let's say you have your, I'll use this one. Let's say you have your home page and you have added some of your elements to it. Maybe you have your name, maybe you've got a little bit of intro information, and you're starting to think about images. Again, this is very much a rough draft. And just the beginning stages. So I'm not looking that this is built completely out. In fact, I really just want to see that when you have a Wix account, you have a website that you have started in that blank template and maybe add a couple of elements. Just let me see that. Next week, in the following week after this, we will go much further into the home page a little bit more and begin building that first artifact, which will be your first essay. So when you're ready, this will be important. When you're ready to submit, you're going to hit publish. And the reason why you're going to hit publish is because this is the link that you provide when you submit. If you were to provide this link that you are using while you're editing, when I get it, I won't see it. So you're going to hit publish and use the publish link. Do not panic about the link saying it's published. It's merely a way to share the link out so somebody can see it. So I'm going to head back over to my canvas, whoops, and let me do this. I'm going to publish that one assignment for right now just so that I can show it to you. There we go. I'll publish this and then I'll unpublish it. Okay, so when you are ready to submit, you're going to go to modules and you're going to go to our assignment and it will say submit assignment. You're going to hit submit. The only thing you can do is submit a website link. So you would just paste your published link there, hit submit assignment, and you're good to go. It'll say assignment successfully submitted. If there is an issue with the link that you sent, I'll just communicate that with you. It's not a big deal. It happens quite a bit, and I can help you if you are struggling with trying to get that published. So no worries there. So for right now, just spend some time drafting your homepage. Remember, again, I can't stress this enough, it's just a draft. The purpose is just to see that you are acquainted with Wix, with the platform moving forward. And I really want you to consider this like a digital playground. Kind of embrace some of the, some of the different aspects that it can do. If you get stuck, if you have questions, I will tell you that the best resource for this is YouTube and Google. Wix itself has some tutorials, but I can tell you without a doubt, as you begin to learn this platform and uh, getting some help to understand certain things, YouTube is going to be your best friend because there's tons of people out there who have created tutorials specifically for, let's say, adding an image to the page or editing your text or moving things around or anything that you might want to kind of add in there. So when in doubt, YouTube, Google, and they will help you out. Thank you for watching. Remember to use this video as much as you would like to help you as you get started. And now you can move back to Canvas, continue with this module, and get those home page links in when you're ready. Thank you.